All right, let's talk about what's happening in medicine right now. Because there is a quiet but absolutely massive revolution underway. And it's not about one new drug or some fancy new machine, it's about a whole new kind of intelligence. Today, we're diving into this idea called the clinical singularity and exploring how AI is completely remaking healthcare right now in 2025.
So what on earth is the clinical singularity? It sounds pretty intense, right? Well, it's a powerful name for a really world-changing concept. It's that moment, that tipping point, where AI in medicine becomes so good that it actually surpasses the skills of human doctors. And when that happens, it kicks off a total, irreversible transformation of healthcare. It might sound like something out of a movie, but the data we're seeing in 2025, it suggests this is already starting to happen.
So how did we even get here? Well, it all starts with some foundational breakthroughs in the technology itself. This is the engine that's driving this entire shift. We're literally watching the birth of a new kind of medical intelligence.
You know, for the longest time, the big goal for medical AI was just to keep up. The idea was to build a system that was as good as a human expert. But in 2025, the goalposts didn't just move, they completely disappeared. The aim isn't about matching humans anymore. It's about navigating a new reality where the AI is actually superior.
Just take a look at this. This is a super tough medical reasoning test called MedExpert QA that uses both text and complex images. And the newest model, GPT-5, it didn't just squeak by, it took a massive leap, outperforming actual human medical experts by more than 24%. This isn't just an upgrade, it's the arrival of a whole new class of medical intelligence.
But, and this is a huge but, this incredible new power creates a serious dilemma. First, you've got the black box problem. I mean, if an AI's thinking is so complex that we can't really follow its logic, how can we possibly trust its life or death decisions? And second, there's the de-skilling effect. One study actually found that experienced doctors got worse at their jobs after relying on an AI assistant. So the big question is, how do we make sure this amazing tool augments our skills instead of letting them waste away?
Now, one of the biggest roadblocks to training great AI has always been data. Getting enough high-quality patient data is hard, and you have all these privacy concerns. The solution? It's something called synthetic data. Imagine an AI that can just create perfectly realistic but totally artificial patient data on demand. Stanford's Röntgen model, for example, can generate a chest X-ray just from a text description. It basically solves the data shortage and the privacy problem at the same time. It's a real game changer.
This new intelligence is also flipping drug discovery on its head by teaming up two different kinds of computing. Think of it like this. Your standard, classical AI is like a super-fast scout. It can sift through millions of potential drug molecules to find a few that look promising. But then, the quantum computers step in. They're like the master analysts who can take those few candidates and simulate them with perfect ground truth accuracy to see if they'll actually work in the human body. And what's so powerful is that this creates this amazing feedback loop. The AI finds molecules, the quantum computer gives it perfect ground truth data on how they behave, and that perfect data is used to train an even smarter AI. That better AI then finds even better molecules, and the whole cycle just keeps accelerating. It's a virtuous cycle that's massively speeding up the search for new medicines.
Okay, so that's the foundational tech. Super cool. But how does it actually show up in the real world for doctors and patients? Let's take a look at how AI is appearing right at the bedside. One of the most immediate impacts is in medical imaging. We're seeing the rise of what's being called the AI-augmented eye. You have systems like PanEcho that can automatically read a complex heart scan, or portable ultrasound machines with built-in AI that literally guides a nurse or an ER doc to get the perfect image. This is huge. It means specialist-level knowledge isn't locked away in a hospital basement anymore. It's available instantly at the point of care.
This kind of tech is also causing a massive paradigm shift in how we approach health altogether. You know, for basically all of human history, medicine has been reactive. You get sick, then you go see a doctor. But now, AI allows us to be preemptive. It could analyze huge data sets and genetic risk scores to flag who's at high risk for a disease years down the road. This lets doctors intervene long before a single symptom ever shows up. But this predictive power forces some really tough, really personal conversations. Let me ask you this. What happens when an AI tells you your risk for a future disease is high, but your insurance company says it's not quite high enough to pay for the preventative treatment? We're stumbling into a world of pre-rationing care, and it brings up some profound ethical questions that we, as a society, are going to have to answer, and fast. AI is also showing up in how we manage our day-to-day health. I'm talking about conversational AI, chat bots and voice agents. they're quickly becoming frontline tools for helping people manage chronic conditions like high blood pressure. And frankly, the results are pretty staggering.
Get this. There was a study on a voice AI agent that helped people monitor their blood pressure at home. First off, patients loved it. Satisfaction scores were over 9 out of 10. And this number? That's the cost reduction for each blood pressure reading compared to having a human nurse do it. A nearly 90% drop in cost, with better outcomes and happier patients. That is one powerful combination.
So, up to now, we've mostly talked about AI as a tool for diagnosis, for management, but the next step is already here. Now we're talking about AI as the intervention itself.
This is a really big deal. Renasertibib is a drug for a fatal lung disease. But what makes it a historic landmark is that everything about it, from finding the biological target in the first place to actually designing the drug molecule, was done by a generative AI. And its positive results in a phase 2 trial are the first solid, concrete proof that this idea of end-to-end AI drug discovery isn't just a theory anymore. It's a clinical reality.
You're seeing the exact same kind of transformation in the operating room. Surgical robots aren't just simple mechanical arms anymore. They're evolving into what you could call a sentient scalpel, an intelligent partner in the OR that assists, guides, and sometimes even anticipates a surgeon's very next move. And the data backs this up in a big way. A major analysis pulled together the results and found that AI-assisted robotic surgery leads to 25% shorter operations, 30% fewer complications, and a whopping 40% improvement in surgical precision. These aren't just tiny gains, these are significant leaps forward in patient safety.
Now you might be wondering, how in the world does regulation keep up with software that's constantly learning and changing? Well, the FDA came up with a really brilliant solution. It's a new framework called a Predetermined Change Control Plan, or PCCP. Here's the simple version of how it works. Instead of a company having to submit for new approval every single time they update their AI, they submit a plan up front that outlines the kinds of improvements they expect to make. The FDA approves the plan itself, which basically pre-authorizes those future updates. It's a regulatory accelerator, and it means better, smarter AI can get to patients way faster.
Okay, let's zoom all the way out. We've seen the core technology, we've seen it in the clinic, and we've seen how the rules are changing. So what does all of this mean for the entire healthcare system? You know what they say, follow the money. In the first half of 2025, during what was the worst venture capital market in a decade, AI-related deals made up a full third of all healthcare investment. This isn't just another trend. This is a massive system-wide bet that AI is the foundational platform for the entire future of medicine. And as all this money flows in, the oversight is coming too. But it's not just one big government agency making all the rules. A sort of hybrid governance model is taking shape. You have federal laws like the FDA's plan, but then you have state-specific laws, independent accreditation groups, and even policies from big insurance payers. It's a complex patchwork of rules all trying to manage this powerful new technology from different angles. And all of this leads us to our final and maybe most critical question. AI is an absolutely incredible tool for optimizing systems and cutting costs. But medicine, at its heart, isn't just about efficiency. So as AI becomes the very architect of our health, the defining challenge will be making sure that its primary goal, its core code, is always focused on human well-being, and not just on a healthier bottom line.